or parlor, if you will, opening up in the riverboat, doing business as Points Bet Riverboat. So they won't just be doing horses. I'd like to see a lot of these folks stumble out of the riverboat into various restaurants and other facilities in Colonial Beach.
Not stumbling, I hope.
Yeah. Stumble, okay, maybe that was the wrong characterization. Okay, walk out and enjoy the amenities of Colonial Beach.
There you go.
So I think we need to look at it as an opportunity to spur development in the downtown area. Obviously, there are police implications to this. The jurisdiction for the riverboat is Charles County, but once they land on solid earth, then they become our issue. And I think, Chief, are you still working with Charles County on an MOU?
Yes, sir, we are. We had a meeting yesterday with their command staff and legal counsel, the town attorney and myself, and we have a working draft together. We are looking to have things implemented within the month of September.
Okay. But hopefully this will be good. We'll all have a good time, make a lot of money out of it. That's my goal.
Ms. Robinson?
Just a couple of things. I too went to the greet meet and it was very informative, and I really appreciated the fact that we were able to hear everything that was going on. Be there. And then I also was very fortunate in that I did an interview with the radio station. There was a lot of reminiscing as we talked for my 10-minute or 12-minute or whatever it was. That was a lot of fun to go back and talk about how I came here and have evolved to where I am in my 60s now. So it's good. Thank you.
Dr. Zepselli?
Just a couple of reminders. It's a very busy time here in Colonial Beach in August and September. Around you today, you see the Colonial Beach Artists Guild's Judged Art Show, and this will be open Saturday and Sunday through the 28th. Coming up this weekend, the Rod Run to the Beach is going on Saturday and Sunday on Town Hill, and Waterfest is going on Saturday and Sunday on the boardwalk. Lots of mermaids, I understand, will be down on the boardwalk. Coming up the first weekend in September, BAM has their big annual fundraiser. Same weekend, the Arts and Craft Festival on the boardwalk will be going on Saturday and Sunday. And then on September 10th is the annual Northern Neck Beach Music Festival. And then we have a candidates forum coming up. And just to remind people, the interview that Vicki was talking about, the radio station invited all of the candidates to come do a little 10-minute interview, and they're going to air those interviews on WWER. And then they will all be aired before the forum, so that you will have a couple of times to look at the different candidates that are running and decide how you want to vote.
Ms. Woods?
Yes, just a couple things. Took my another ride along. I did the trash truck a few months ago, and also just recently did a ride along with the town manager and our new director of public works, and David Knapp, our operations manager. And so I just want to let everybody know that that went pretty well. He took me around and showed me some of the different areas that we have to maintain for our grounds crew. Showed me them actually doing the beach, and it was interesting. I think he said it took like 8 hours to do all of our beaches. So it's a pretty significant task for our guys. We've only got about 4 people total doing all the maintenance in town. So just hope, people understand that it's a lot for a small crew. And he took me around to some of the different pump stations, told me about how they maintain those, and just the various things like the golf cart path. I know people have concerns about that. They have to mow all that and keep that cleaned out. And then just all of our parks in town. So very busy. And so that was a good experience for me just to kind of see what they go through. And they also told me about the trash. They start at 6:30 in the morning, all the way from one end of the boardwalk and go all the way around town to all the different parks and everything. They told me some of the challenges of getting that done. One thing I did want to mention, well, we're gonna have a presentation on the central drainage area, but I did have a good meeting with the town manager and director of public works yesterday, and they answered a lot of my questions, and so I really appreciate their time, and I'll talk about some more of that stuff at another time. But one of the things I just wanted to let the people of Colonial Beach know, and also I hope maybe we can address this with the council at some point, is liaison roles and what they actually are, because I've gotten beaten up several times on social media about how I'm not doing a very good job as the public works liaison, which is very disappointing to me because I take this job very seriously and I work very hard at it. And a lot of people don't realize that they don't want me meeting with public works employees. It's just, it's not like they're punishing me or anything like that. It's just that liaison's role, from what has been told to me, is to represent, council and the people, but not necessarily be the spokesperson for the actual employees. So when I asked, several times to meet with them, I finally at least got to introduce myself. I appreciate it, and they appreciated me coming, but I just hope everybody in the public knows that I'm not responsible for advocating for them to get things or for their raises. I'm just here to try to foster a relationship with the people of Colonial Beach and council when it comes to that. So I appreciate everybody letting me vent about that. Thank you.
Mr. Al?
So for the planning commission, our next meeting is going to be August the 25th. And there is still an open position. So if anyone in the audience would like to sign up for that, please do. You can get the application, I believe, online off our website. Is that correct, India? The application for planning commission? I thought it was. If not, we can get you one. So please sign up for that. As far as Parks and Rec, the next meeting for that will be September the 6th. There will be a 3-on-3 pickup game this fall, so please look forward to having some basketball. So enjoy that. I know I'm going to be trying to play that and try not to break any ankles or anything like that. But my son is evidently going to make me do that. And also the movie night for the Breakfast Club is going to be rescheduled. It has not been rescheduled yet, but we anticipate getting that out to you as soon as possible. That's all I got.
Wonderful. I just wanted to update people. Some people have been asking about the parking metering situation. We had made a consensus resolution several months ago to meter April through September. And so the parking metering actually requires a code change in order to make that official. That code change will be coming up in September. So just to give a heads up that there is that's coming forward. I know there's been some concerns about that. The Waterfest and Rod Run, I'm so excited for this weekend for this town. It's a great combo, I think. And the first time I think this has ever been on the same weekend. Unfortunately, I have a camping trip with my kids, so I won't be there this time, but I haven't missed a Waterfest or a Rod Run yet. So anyway, and it will be a great, wonderful weekend. And what? One less mermaid. I never was a mermaid. I was always a pirate. Sorry. And I just want to appreciate the artists for the beautiful artwork that you see in the room tonight. This is the regional art show from the Colonial Beach Artists Guild, and also to recognize Ms. Clement for her award in the regional art show, who's a council member and also a member of the guild. Yeah. And to echo Tom's point about the points betting parlor. It's a sports betting section of Riverboat. So just to clarify a little bit, I have never bet on sports, so I don't really know exactly what that entails. It's apparently not, I'm not the clientele target probably. However, we are gonna go check it out tomorrow. And so I'm excited to see it and glad to see some progress at Riverboat. I think that's exciting for this town and hopefully it gonna be a positive contributor to our economy. And I know they've already reaching out with our police force, and that's wonderful. The Riverboat has shared a very mutual and supportive relationship with the town for a very long time. I don't know if people fully understand that, but when Penny was running it, she was extremely supportive of all of our safety services, of our fire department, our rescue squad, our police department, really went out of their way, made donations to those entities, regardless of the fact they're in Charles County and do not have to contribute to the town in that way. And so the current administration there is also extending that same hand, and I'm glad to see it. And so that is an encouraging step. The other thing that I've heard a lot of complaints about recently was regarding code compliance, like grass cutting and some nuisance things like that in town. And I just wanted to let people know that we did have a gap in that code compliance staffing, and that is getting rehired like this week, I believe. Where you hope. Okay, so I'm sure that the town manager will probably update more on that, but I have also, you know, any complaint that comes to me, I send to the department. No council person directly does that. We send them to the department, and staff handles that appropriately. There's legal implications that go along with that, and that law has to be abided by about how we interact with citizens on those issues. And to echo David's sentiment on the liaison position, like council members are here to hear your concerns and make sure that it's to the appropriate place. We don't actually direct staff. So other than as a unit, as a whole group entity, to the town manager. And that's the way the government here locally runs. I think a lot of times there is a misunderstanding about maybe what the position of a council member or a mayor is, and that I have like some authority to go tell, you know, so-and-so to do something, and it doesn't work that way. This is a representative democracy with a town manager or a council manager form of government. And so the council directs the manager, and the manager handles day-to-day issues and all of the management that follows from that. So anyway, it's always good to, you know, remind people about how it works. And you're welcome to contact us anytime, and also to our town manager. That's all I have for updates, I think. And town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. India Adams Jacobs, town manager. I'll be giving my monthly report. Starting off with finance in our town departments. Our water bills will be going out in early September, and they will be due October 1st. Last meeting, Vice Mayor Roberson mentioned that we will be getting and receiving our ARPA funds, and we did receive those in late July. Our second round of ARPA funds were received by our finance department that were allocated by the state in the sum of $1.8 million. So that's our second round of funding and our last round of ARPA funding that we'll be getting directly from the state. Next, as it relates to grants, some unfortunate news as it relates to one of the grants that we were hopeful for, which was the bike path / linear park grant that we submitted back in the spring for the tour that we went on in hopes to upgrade some safety upgrades as well as some other park upgrades along the linear park. Unfortunately, we were denied that application and that grant award, so we will be pursuing other avenues for grants to upgrade safety along the bike path and lead with other park improvements along the bike path as well. Next, some reminders about hiring. Our chief of police will touch on this a little bit later, but we are hiring for police officers, as well as a wastewater treatment plant supervisor and a wastewater facility maintenance operator trainee. A bit of an update as it relates to town hall. We've been doing some reorganizing of offices. So if you've been in recently, our finance and customer service office is still where it was to the left, but our community development and planning office is formerly what was our conference room, and the formerly community development office is now the clerk's office, HR, and Parks, Rec, and Events. So if you're new to town hall, make sure you take a look at some of those new office locations. Next, Parks, Rec, and Events. We already talked about Rod Run and Waterfest this weekend. And then again, on September 6th, the Parks and Rec Commission will be meeting here at Town Center. So they would like for more people to get involved and come out and learn about what Parks, Recs, and Events are doing. So please come out and attend those meetings if you are able. Next, in terms of intergovernmental relations and community affairs, some exciting news as it relates to one of the items from our strategic plan. We've discussed numerous times as it relates to erosion control along our shorelines and our North Beach specifically. Our North Beach Erosion and Shoreline Resiliency Project, which is a strategic action plan item, has moved from phase 1 to phase 2 to now phase 3. We are in the scoping phase, and hopefully by the end of the year, we will be notified if we will actually be funded for this project to move forward with mitigating some of those erosion issues. Yeah, it's very exciting news. We are also working with our grant manager as it relates to a stormwater shoreline RFP that has been out for a couple of weeks. So we'll be awarding that in the coming month as well. Next, our DMV will be back this Monday. So if you need an appointment, update those tags, get your registration moved in town, any of those things, you can still get an appointment for that meeting on Monday, on August 22nd. And regionally, we've been participating in meetings with our Northern Neck Planning District on our hazard mitigation plan. Mr. J.C. Riviere has been taking the lead on that, working with our planning district and everything that we need to do to coordinate with them on that. Next. And I'll toss it over to the chief to discuss some items with the police department.
We recently completed our National Night Out earlier this month. It was my first one here in town. However, I was told it was very well attended and received by the community. So I'm thankful for that. And I appreciate everybody that came out. If I did not get the opportunity to speak to you while I was in the duck booth, my apologies. It's hard to speak with when you're underwater. But we did mention, I believe 2 meetings ago, about being selected by Versa to be one of 4 jurisdictions in the Commonwealth to pilot Guardian Score. We have started that pilot program this week. We currently have 2 responses to that program with a 5.0 rating and very positive comments from that. So it is still early yet, but on the first day going live, we did receive some feedback, and as well as yesterday, I checked it prior to tonight's meeting. It normally takes about 24 to 48 hours for it to populate for us to be able to see those results. It's not as prompt as we thought it was originally going to be, but it's still pretty prompt on seeing that real-time data. It's looking about every 24 hours, but it's only the day 3. So we'll see how it goes. And we are also hiring for 3 vacancies, and we are participating in the Northern Neck Job Fair that's being held in Tappahannock in September. And we're looking at other job fairs in the region to try to attend and remarketing and rebranding our image to try to invite more people to apply to the police department.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you for being such a great sport, for being in the dunk tank. Hopefully the first and last time we'll see you behind bars.
Yes, ma'am.
Moving on to infrastructure and public works, want to give a shout out to our team for getting our stormwater shoreline and resiliency plan RFP out. We are combining all 3 after working with our planning district and really to promote more efficiency and effectiveness. They suggested that we do all of those 3 together along with our grant writer suggestions. So we are doing that all in one fell swoop, and we'll be looking to award that in the coming weeks. And then a huge shout out to our public works team, Mr. David Knapp specifically, as well as the rest of his crew for working with our Colonial Beach Public Schools and installing new signage and crosswalks ahead of the school year. So they worked on that about 2 weeks or a week before school started, and was able to get most of the signage and crosswalks in collaboration with the schools. So thank them for their efforts and for the increased and continued collaboration with our public schools. And that's all that I have.
I just wanted to follow up on a couple things. Number 1, the crosswalks look great, and they are actually to VDOT standards, which I was very happy to see that didn't used to happen in town. So I appreciate that. And that the hazard mitigation plan, stormwater plan was all part of the grant, the stormwater management, the stormwater plan and things like that, that coupling that was in that public works slide is gonna be funded with the grant that was received and is coordinated with the hazard mitigation plan from the Northern Neck Planning District.
Once we select some consultants, they will sit down with the consultants that are working with the region to ensure alignment of the plans.
Just to touch on that, a part of the funding was already allocated from ARPA funds, about $100,000. We received a resiliency grant separate, that was about $103,000. So we're combining those efforts to fund this RFP in this land.
All right, well, we need a plan before we can take action, so that would be the next step. All right, anything else on that? Presentations. Supervisor Truitt?
Mayor, council, it's good to see you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the EMS program down in the county that actually benefits us as well. The county got a grant that was to the tune of about $463,000. And what that grant is going to do is it's going to provide training to as many as 9 EMTs in order for them to get their paramedic. It'll pay for all their training. It'll pay for their mileage to go to and from the training, and for their certifications. It's about $9,500 a person. So that's really a very positive thing to see that happen. It also is going to fund a resource. What do they call that person? Yeah, it's like, but basically what they do, it's a mobile healthcare provider, I think is basically what they call. But what that person will do, and anybody that's in EMS knows that sometimes you get caught up in going to the same house over and over and over for the same issue. A lot of times it's just to check somebody's blood pressure, and that ties up a squad. Many times it's where the doctor sends somebody home and it's just a patient that doesn't have anybody. They may have problems finding their medication or need somebody to help them with that. So that person is basically going to be there to respond and evaluate that patient more than anything else, to see if they need some additional care or something that hadn't been provided. And a lot of times those people just call just because they're lonely and they want somebody to just come and see them. And I can recall, we've had many through the years in our town where you visit them more and more the older they get, and it's just because they're just lonely. But that's what this healthcare provider is going to do. The grant pays for that for 3 years, which is a good thing. So we're looking forward to that position being filled and those paramedic positions or the EMT positions being upgraded. The other thing that EMS provided, Blake Bird was at our meeting, and he provided what they've come up with. It's called File for Life, and this is fantastic. Anybody that's ever responded EMS and you go to someone's home, they come and they have just bottles of medication. They don't have their history, their allergies, any of those things. And I'll ensure that you get this to put on your website. It documents all your information, and it comes in a nice little folder that says File for Life, and it's magnetized. You can put it right on your refrigerator. So when EMS shows up, it's all right there. They can take a picture of it. It has your name, address, all your information about your history. You can update it, and it's free. So, and I'll get you the website. It is EMS at Westmoreland County, westmoreland-county.org. It goes directly to Blake Bird, who's the assistant EMS chief. They've already given out about 550 of them. So it's really a good thing for the EMS people, and I hope that people take advantage of getting that free. As we know, Westmoreland High School did the ribbon cutting on July 30th. That's an exciting time. I can recall when we did that for Colonial Beach Elementary School, how exciting that was, and they're very excited. Beautiful new school. It should last this county like W&L did for 100 years or longer. And I'm sure the next thing they're going to be looking at is a middle school. And anybody that reads the paper just saw where Fredericksburg budgeted about 56 million and they came back with a price of 77 million. So schools aren't getting any cheaper, but it's just something that you have to have somewhere to teach your children. I'm excited about the new principal that's come here. I was able to meet him back during the summer when he was a T-ball coach. He actually coached my granddaughter, and he's very personable. I'm glad to see that he decided that I'm sure that he had no idea where he was going to be at that period of time. Here he is in Colonial Beach, going to be the principal, and that's exciting. And he's very personable. And I think when people get to know him, that they'll appreciate the attributes that he's brought to our town. I attended the Northern Neck Planning District Commission meeting this week. It also was at Washington, our Westmoreland High School. And so I've had about 3 tours of that building. But the guest speaker was Jimmy Carr, and he's the CEO of All Points Broadband. And basically what they're working on is that Northern Neck Regional Broadband Initiative that covers 5 counties. And it's for those areas that aren't served. And it's literally thousands of homes that aren't served in the 5 counties that they're serving. So, and they're running the fiber optics. Eric Nelson was at the meeting and asked, hey, can we get that in Colonial Beach? Because it's so much faster and better. And unfortunately, the answer was no. It's for areas that aren't served by any other provider. So, which would be nice if we could get it. But they're progressing and getting that done in King George and Westmoreland and Richmond County and Lancaster. That'll be good for those people that don't have broadband or internet service. We did pass the tax relief rates for 2022. If your vehicle is valued at less than $1,000, which there's not too many that are valued at less than $1,000, it's 100% tax relief. If your vehicle is valued at less than 20,000, but more than 1,000, it's 21.5% tax relief. And for most of the people in the world who have a vehicle that's valued at more than $20,001, it's no tax relief. And that's probably anybody that has an engine in a vehicle this day and time, because we've seen what a tremendous cost that used vehicles have gone up to. So, but that's what those rates are about. Business vehicles don't count in that, or motorhomes. Is there any questions about anything I can answer tonight for anybody? It's always good to see. The art is absolutely beautiful. I say that every year because it really is. I wish it could stay here all year long. And I even heard somebody make the comment about how calming effect it has in this room and in this place. So, but it is nice that they agree to do that every year, and they do such beautiful work. It's just gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Mitchell, you're going to introduce us.
Yes. It was Clemens already stole my fun. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to first start by introducing our new high school principal for Colonial Beach High School, Mr. Scott Lush. So can we give him a big round? I'm excited because he's one of our own. He lives right here in Colonial Beach for the last 8 years. He's been going on the other side of the pond or the river to Charles County. And we were able to, still in Charles County after 5 years as an AP. We're super excited. He is a father of 2. Both of his children attend our elementary school. So he's been around. We're super excited. So thank you for taking the opportunity to join Colonial Beach Public Schools, as we are proud that you're gonna be joining, the team. You got a little work cut out for you. But I know you're ready for the challenge, okay? You wanna say a few words?
Hello. I just want to say thanks. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. You guys do amazing things here. And I'm excited to be more of a part of it. I just kind of, the opportunity struck at the right time. And I'm jumping at it and I'm ready to take it and run. So I appreciate everyone's support. And trust me, you'll be hearing from me with everything I need. And please reach out to me with everything you need. We got to have those lines of communication open to make sure everyone's getting supported, especially our kids. They're the ones who need it most. All right, thank you guys.
Just a couple of quick updates. We had a fantastic opening to the school year. Kids are in school, it seems like they never left. We are fully staffed at the elementary school. It was great to see some of our parents who were in the room here during open house. At the high school, we're not fully staffed. We have about 2 positions open, but it does not prevent us from day-to-day operations. Dr. Addo, who's here, has been serving as, let me see, Dr. Addo, he's been serving as interim principal the last couple of days, and he'll be here until Scott starts on August 29th. A couple of quick updates for the school division. Hopefully you've had a chance to walk the school grounds. We were able to finish several projects. The basketball court, the gym is completed. We're waiting for bleachers come in the middle of September, but the floor is absolutely amazing, the new floor. We finished with the parking lot. We were able to add an additional 80 parking spots. That's huge. When I came here, that was something that I was like, we're using a lot of space, not effectively, and we did a study, and we were able to add an additional 80 spots. Now, with that came a little bit of some changes, particularly with our pickup in the morning and our drop off. We completely changed everything. I've received more positive comments than the few 2 or 3 negative comments from parents who have concerns. Most of the concerns I heard really came on the first day, and we were able to tweak things, and the traffic flows very nicely. We're going to work with the police department to kind of look at a couple of things, and with the town manager, particularly for some of the changes with kids having to walk to a crosswalk. We may need to look at one in an additional crosswalk closer to the elementary school. New projects coming up. Just want to make sure that people know that we are continuously trying to change the landscape of the school. We have a complete new system we're hoping to launch and put in place for the summer, next summer, with HVAC, change the whole system at the high school level, and then hopefully some upgrades to the bleachers. We need to change the home team bleachers at the high school football field. Lights for the softball field, equipment delivered this week. Installation is going to start next week into the CIP projects. And the last thing I'm going to say, tomorrow is a big day. The governor is going to release accreditation reports tomorrow. That should go out. Superintendents had a chance to review those accreditation reports about 2 weeks ago, as well as the school profiles. And I'm going to say that I think everybody in this room, as well as in this district as overall, will be very, very pleased with both schools in terms of their performance. I'll leave it at that. Any questions for me?
No, I just want to say I'm super excited about the softball lights.
Yes.
I can't tell you how long that complaint has been coming through here, because see, the boys have lights, but if the girls didn't, and so the boys weren't allowed to play at night either, if the girls couldn't play. That was a DAC rule. So anyway, this will free up the scheduling, which was then an issue because you couldn't play night games.
Yep.
And also provide some equality over there to both the women's and team sports.
Absolutely.
And I have heard nothing but positive things about the drop-off line. You're right, a few negative things about the first day. where there were a lot of parents coming the first day because obviously it's the first day of school and there's a good picture of the kid and all that kind of stuff. But I've heard it's just been smooth sailing since then. And I mean, Mr. Allison lives across the street, so I would say.
Yeah, so I get firsthand on everybody that goes by, because, you know, most people know who I am, and I'm standing out there to get my son, and, you know, you get the stops and like, what are they doing? What are they doing? So by the end of the week, everybody was like in and out. As soon as the gate opens, it blew through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a great experience seeing that, you know, living across the street, of course, but I do echo the crosswalk across from my house.
Yeah.
There are a lot of kids that come down from Jackson and other streets on that end that cross over there as well. So
Yeah.
I look forward to that if that's a possibility.
Yeah, and the town manager and I had a great meeting last week, Friday. You know, we are gonna have some monthly meetings, and I have a couple of safety things we're gonna talk to her about, especially that crosswalk. Hopefully, she and Mr. Knapp and his team, and I want to echo again at what you've heard, they were fantastic. We were kind of scrambling the day before, the weekend before school opened, and they took care of all of the safety signs. And we want to thank them for that. And the only thing we've heard is really coming off of Lincoln and Kins, you know, the need for a stop sign as you enter that little pathway. So hopefully I'll work with the town and Public Works and try to get that done. So thank you. Yes, Karen.
And I believe football and volleyball season start next week. I hope
Yes.
everybody comes out to support our team when they're playing at home.
Yes, yes. Schedule's on. We have a new page on the website.
It's beautiful.
So that's, thank you. So that's one of the things I've been working on also since I got here. New page on the website, sports schedules, it's all posted. So we're looking forward to volleyball and football season.
Yeah, in Colonial Beach, Drifter Sports is a community event. I
Yes.
expect to see everybody there. You don't have to have a kid in school. That's yes, everybody.
Yeah.
And-
And now you have parking.
Yes, and
More
that's
parking.
parking.
But we can still drive our golf carts to the football games, right?
I think you put in a parking spot. I don't know.
Are they changing
I
this?
don't know.
We've always been able to drive our golf carts right up
I
to the
didn't
field.
change anything. That's the
Okay.
rule, that's the rule. I didn't change it.
Don't change that rule. You have an upright.
I didn't change it, but I do know I added more parking spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to add, our Director of Public Works, Ms. Diane Byer, is looking into the VDOT standards that relates to crosswalks in some areas. And we'll be bringing that back, as well as a request to look at potentially making one road that's currently one way, two-way near Town Hall. So we're looking at both those.
There was a sidewalk plan already done for First Street, 2 different options, just, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of that, but anyway, that was an application for a grant 2 years ago, I think, and the grant was not funded, but the engineering was done. So if there's a school CIP initiative and town wants to collaborate on that, might be helpful that there wasn't plan on that. Dewberry, who I think is via Zoom. Hello. Nice to
Hello.
see you again.
Yes, I'm sorry I can't be there in
Oh, we have your
person.
audio. Wait.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I don't know if she can see us or not.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, and now I can see you. All right. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm sure you can appreciate me keeping my germs to myself at home and not bringing that to town council. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let's see. Share. Can y'all see the presentation? Okay. I see head nodding, so. All right, so this is the project update for the central drainage area sanitary sewer replacement and now also water line improvements project. I'm going to be, this is my agenda. I'll be going through just a little bit of the background of how this project was recommended. The first time I mentioned it was pretty much a year ago at last July's town council meeting. Talk about the original scope, the field conditions and design that has happened since the engineering services were awarded last fall, some of the scope adjustments that have happened earlier this year, and then schedule impacts and cost impacts. And then I'll open it up for any comments and questions. So to start, I've presented to council, I think twice in the past year, just on all the different background of the sanitary sewer system for the town. These are figures of your system, and explaining all of the work that the town has done through many years of trying to address inflow and infiltration. And so that led to a hydraulic capacity analysis of the central drainage area early last year, which we completed that report and again reported the results at last July's council meeting. That analysis was done because there was a manhole that was having a sanitary sewer overflow. That's the SSO manhole near the intersection of Colonial and Washington. It's shown on the map. You can see the SSO MH manhole. That was having repeat instances that during a wet weather event, like during a heavy rain, that manhole would overflow because wastewater was not able to make it through the system and be pumped from the Boundary Street pump station to the treatment plant just because it was being inundated with too much rainwater, essentially. So we were tasked with doing a hydraulic analysis to figure out what might be an immediate solution of eliminating that SSO, and then also discuss some of the long-term solutions of addressing I&I. So this was from that hydraulic analysis. On the left was the existing system information from your GIS system. And then on the right was showing the recommendation on improvements that when we modeled these improvements of changing that main trunk line from the intersection of Colonial and Washington down to the Boundary Street pump station, the system was then able to handle the additional rainwater that was going into it during a wet weather event. So it was kind of underground storage rather than it coming out of the manhole, out of that SSO manhole. So this was the recommended project. And that was the original scope. After that council meeting, the town advertised for engineering services. Those were awarded to Dewberry last November. And almost immediately there was a change to the original scope, and that's shown on the right. And hopefully you can see this figure. It turned out, and this is where this red arrow is pointing, that there's actually on Denison, where it hits Taylor, intersects Taylor, and then continues to Beach Terrace, to the boardwalk, there's actually a section of sewer that's underneath a structure. So at some point, a structure was built over top of the sewer easement. And so the discussion during one of our kickoff meetings to discuss the design was, rather than keep that sewer main like that, let's realign it to have it go down Taylor, and those are the red lines, realign to when it hits Denison and Taylor, turn down Taylor, and then on Hawthorne, turn back to Beach Terrace Road and continue that way. And then the section that's underneath the structure, it would remain in place, but it would not have obviously as much flow going through it. And that section, the hope would be that we would just line it and it would remain as is and act pretty much as a lateral for that property, just to continue its existing service. So that was kind of an initial scope change. And then the rest of that scope was complete CCTV camera inspection of the sewer line along the whole project corridor, just to verify sewer size, the condition, and lateral locations, so that we would know for the plans to be able to explain to the contractor when they're doing a replacement of the sewer, they would know where they're going to have to reconnect existing lateral services. And then after doing the field investigation, prepare the design documents for the sewer replacement. So field conditions began in December. we completed the CCTV camera inspection. This is the map from that was provided to the CCTV contractor. We highlighted the routes for them to camera. And a few things that popped out from that were there were 3 segments that could not have the camera inspection completed. I'll start with the bottom first, kind of the southern section on Hawthorne. And that one, the camera came up to a segment where it appeared like some type of casing. I'm assuming for some other type of utility, we believe it was electric, had been installed obviously very close, too close to the sanitary sewer, because it was actually cutting through the bottom of the sewer pipe. So you could see the camera actually come up to that pipe, and then it couldn't pass it because there was something there. Thankfully, with this realignment that we were already discussing, that section, the section that has that conflict, is being replaced on Hawthorne and at a different elevation. So that conflict is being eliminated. And then 2 of the sections to the north that the camera couldn't get through, it actually looked like the section that's on Washington looked extremely small. It looked like it had been previously lined. And when the measuring tape is actually down in the manhole in front of the pipe, it actually almost looks like it's a 6-inch. So I'm not quite sure why that size is like that, but I would say that's very possibly a bottleneck in the system at that pipe. So it's very good that that's being replaced. And then the section on Colonial Ave, camera couldn't get through that. And I have a feeling that is probably due to a conflict with a storm sewer pipe, which I will be discussing in a few moments, because there were 2 storm conflicts that were identified. So CCTV was completed in December. Field survey along the route was completed in early January. We did identify, again, some storm sewer conflicts and some non-standard sanitary alignment identified. I'll be covering that in the next couple of slides. And then we submitted the 50% design docs in February. However, did try to pretty quickly set up a review meeting in early March just to discuss some of the issues identified during the field investigation that needed to be addressed. So storm sewer conflicts, and this is exactly what it sounds like. A storm sewer pipe is in direct conflict with a sanitary pipe, and it appears to be in 2 locations. One is on Colonial Ave. So you can see it on the left side, just an aerial view of the approximate location of where that is. On the right, I was trying to show you a profile from our design documents. And this is basically just taking a cross section of the sanitary sewer along Colonial Ave. And so the green dashed lines are actually the existing 8-inch pipe that's on Colonial. And then that ellipse, the red ellipse, is where the storm sewer crossing is of the sanitary sewer. And again, based off of the elevations that survey picked up in the field, they appear to be in direct conflict. So I'm not quite sure how that sanitary sewer is actually. My guess is it's not exactly like that. Most likely the sanitary pipe is doing something underground where maybe it's bending, maybe there's a sag, not quite sure, because again, we couldn't get the camera through the pipe. So part of this project is going to need to replace that section and lower the sewer to get below that storm sewer. And that's actually in that little clip. You can see the proposed 8-inch PVC is a little bit lower of the solid black lines. So that is storm conflict 1. 2 is, make sure you can see this picture.
An animal.
2 is on Washington. And this was kind of a head scratcher when we started looking at the survey, because there was a storm manhole identified that was directly on the sanitary sewer alignment. And then again, when looking at the elevations of the pipes and that manhole, it was like, that seems like they would be basically in direct conflict. And so while we were on the meeting, the call in March, I think actually Chris went out into the field, took this picture and emailed it to me. And as you can see, this is the storm manhole. That is the sanitary sewer pipe going right through it at the bottom. Unfortunately, you can see there's a joint a pipe joint there on the right that's in there, and that kind of the teeth looking thing on the pipe, that's a repair clamp. So there have obviously been some issues, I would say, in the past with that sanitary pipe going through the storm manhole. So this started a discussion of possibly doing a storm sewer evaluation to see if it was possible to eliminate that. Again, that discussion started in March. And I'll come back to that. So sanitary connections, the whole thing of a non-standard alignment is along Denison, near the intersection of Denison and Irving, on the map on the left. I believe those are condos there. For some reason, that sanitary connection leaving the parking lot, and I've tried to draw that with the red line on the aerial map. It is, and I've also tried to show the flow arrows. So the main sewer main trunk is flowing down south on Washington and then starts heading east on Denison and then south on the boardwalk. That sanitary connection from the condos is essentially going backwards because it went to the nearest manhole, but it's making the flow basically turn around on itself. And that is definitely not standard. Regulations and typical standards are you should never have less than a 90-degree angle between your incoming pipe and outgoing pipe. So to see it on the plan view of the set, and I apologize, just the way the plans were set up, the north arrow has been rotated. So on the right image, Denison is, and I don't know if you could see my cursor, Denison Street is the street where the sewer is going down. This manhole that says unnamed sanitary sewer manhole 2, SS manhole 2, that is the manhole that's in the condo parking lot. And then it's showing the sanitary connection. I tried to show the flow arrow where it's connecting to the manhole in the intersection of Irving and Denison. So again, just a more up close version of seeing how acute that angle is for like sending the flow one way and then turning it back on itself. I feel like what should have been done is that a manhole should have been installed in Denison on the sewer main and then just have a direct connection from the manhole in the parking lot to the Denison, the new manhole in Denison. So that is what we're showing with this new project, is to try to address that issue so you don't have, again, that non-standard alignment anymore. And then just to mention sanitary connections, this is actually something that was discovered, I believe, sometime over the past few months, but the Public Works Department actually discovered kind of in that same area, there's condos. In this back parking lot, I've put a square in the red square in the general location of a storm inlet in the middle of the parking lot. And it was discovered that storm connection had a direct connection into the sanitary sewer system heading towards Hawthorne. So that is a great deal of inflow during a rain event that was going directly into the sanitary sewer system. So that has been plugged by the Public Works Department. That is definitely a great find, because I know just from some of the hydrant testing that we were doing in July, one of the hydrants was very near that section. Like you could actually see that inlet, and we were opening the hydrant so the hydrant was blowing water towards Irving. But just the way the drainage flows on Irving in that area, it all flows into that storm inlet. So again, like all of that overland drainage on Irving during any rain event was going, again, directly into the sanitary sewer. So again, just wanted to mention, because that's definitely a nice find for eliminating inflow. So some scope adjustments based off of, again, the review meeting that we had back in March. So we discussed the potential of storm sewer evaluation to try to figure out if there was a way of definitely trying to eliminate that storm conflict manhole on Washington. And then it was also mentioned at that time, the town was aware that there's a future development coming between Taylor and the boardwalk and Hawthorne. I've tried to show it on the right with that red square. That development was coming, but the nearest water line size in that area was a 4-inch. And I guess based off of some discussions that were being had, maybe by the developer's engineer, someone, I guess, had mentioned to the Public Works Department that they wanted the ability to have a fire flow demand of 1,750 gallons per minute. And that is just not something that would have been able to be provided by a 4-inch water line. So the thought process during that meeting was, well, we're already tearing up the road to do a sewer replacement project. Why not also add this water line to the project? Because then we'll hopefully eliminate the need to dig up the road twice. So on the right, you can see, again, where we're going to be doing a new sewer alignment along Taylor, but you can see the new water line alignment shown following along Denison, which is following our sewer project, following along Taylor, and then following along Hawthorne. So we created a amendment for additional services related to those two items, the storm sewer, the water line, based off of, I'm assuming, some internal discussions with the town. The amendment for the water line analysis and design was approved at the end of April. As far as the storm sewer, it sounded like the decision was just, it was going to be quite a bit to potentially eliminate that storm conflict manhole. So doing the evaluation and potentially relocating a lot of storm sewer, that the decision was that was not going to proceed. So we just proceeded with additional services for the water line analysis and design. So this shows, to be able to do that water line analysis, Dewberry had actually created a water hydraulic model many years ago. And the last time it was updated was in 2015 for the last round of waterline improvement projects that the town had. So part of this was doing quite a bit of data collection, getting current billing data, current meter usage, current production data to input that into the model and update the model. Also add any water line improvements that have been made over the last 7 years. So updating that within the model. And then we also did some hydrant tests, something I just mentioned. We did 2 hydrant tests, one on the boardwalk, and this is kind of in the area of the new development between Taylor and the boardwalk. Did a fire hydrant test on the boardwalk as well as off of Irving. And the purpose of that is we flow those hydrants, and then we are gauging the amount of flow coming out of the hydrant, and then we're also gauging the residual pressure at 2 other hydrants in the system. And the reason for that is when a fire hydrant is flowing, you do not want the pressure in the system to drop below 20 PSI. And that is just a waterworks regulation. So by doing those tests in the field, we took down that data, took it back to the office, and it just helps us to compare it to how the model is running to make sure that what we are simulating with the hydraulic water model and the software versus what we're seeing in the field, that those match up, which they did. They seem to match up quite well. This was actually the hydraulic results, and this was showing that if we ran that fire flow of 1,750 gallons per minute for 2 hours for that new development, that your pressures stayed above the 20 PSI. And that's what all these different nodes in the model are showing, all the different pressure points. We modeled it as a 12-inch. We also modeled it as an 8-inch. An 8-inch is able to supply that demand. So that is something that was recently changed, going from a 12-inch to an 8-inch. And that mainly has to do with quite a bit of supply chain shortages for larger diameter, especially ductile iron pipe. So with 8-inch being able to provide the fire flow that was necessary, and currently the PVC 8-inch pipe is in stock, that was the decision that was made recently. So schedule impacts. 95% design documents were just completed at the end of July. So we're now in the review period, a comment review period that needs to be reviewed by the town and VDOT. We are waiting on some additional discussion on whether Virginia Department of Health has to review this or not. We have town comments. I actually had a meeting yesterday to talk through those comments to make sure that we were all on the same page and knew how to address those. There are a few things that need some additional input to be able to address everything. VDOT thankfully only had 2 comments. Really, their only part of review for this is on Colonial Ave because that's State Route 205Y. So that's really their only jurisdiction in the project. And then the health department, again, it will come down to the health department right now wants to have some additional information on that development, the kind of development on Taylor and Hawthorne, to be able to determine if they need to see our plans or not. So best case scenario right now, again, it depends on what the health department says, but best case, final approved bid documents in September. Hopefully the town could be advertising for bids for the month of October. Bids received early November so that we would be able to provide a bid evaluation, hopefully bid recommendation of award to town council for their approval in November. And then that notice of award could be given to the contractor in November. And then the construction duration for the sewer replacement was originally estimated at 6 months. With the addition of over 1,000 feet of water line, we're saying that's at least going to go up to 8 months for doing that, again, the additional piping. The whole schedule impact for construction is really going to come down to the supply chain shortages that are impacting material lead times. So it would be great if notice of award could happen in November and the contractor could start before the end of the year. That is really going to come down to what we've been experiencing. So I did kind of throw this together as far as cost impacts. Just that the construction market continues to be impacted. It's fluctuating. It has extremely high elevated costs, and this is continuing to be due to the global pandemic, as well as the war in Ukraine that has been impacting. The main thing that I've heard is like scrap metal prices. So all of this is impacting the fact that there are material shortages due to ongoing supply chain issues. There are labor shortages. So both of those impact cost and schedule. And then just some input from 2 of the material suppliers that do a lot of materials for linear work. Some discussions with them in July was that ductile iron pipe has a 40-week lead time right now. PVC pipe, depending on the size, if it's 6-inch and 8-inch pipe that's currently in stock, but smaller and larger sizes have a 16-week lead time. And again, that was as of July. It could definitely change. And the other big thing is costs are not set until the materials are in hand. So that is definitely also something that's been happening. If a project goes out to bid, contractors are being given essentially a budgetary quote from material suppliers that says, okay, your quote as of today is X, but your cost is not set until the materials come in. So for something like the ductile iron pipe, where it's not going to be in for 40 weeks, there's obviously definitely can be quite a bit of fluctuation in cost from the time of the bid to the point when the materials come in. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then as far as the cost estimate, because of the changes that have occurred between the 50% and 95% design, there was a significant cost increase by roughly $900,000. And so I did want to just kind of bulletize what those items were that added to that. That had to do with the changes to address the storm conflicts, because we did increase some sewer placement that were initially we were hoping didn't have to be replaced or could have been lined. We do have to replace that existing conflict manhole. We're adding that manhole to address the non-standard sanitary connection. Obviously, the addition of the water line installation. There has been increased traffic control because of the additional replacement that's happening. And then increased asphalt repair. That was because initially the hope was just trench patching. But when we were looking at that during the 50% design, the conversation happened that it was like, no, the town would really like to have a nice clean looking road after having this utility trench go through. So rather than just doing a trench patch, do full travel lane widths. So that, again, asphalt is not inexpensive. So that was quite a bit of an increase that was actually the largest part of that increase between 50% and 95%. So with that, that's my presentation. So please let me know if there are any comments or questions.
It's pretty thorough.
Thank you.
At this point.
Question.
Yes.
You said it went up 900 some odd thousand. So what's the total now versus the beginning?
Yes, so the cost at 50% was actually pretty much in line with where we had been with the budgetary costs. It was around, I think, like 880,000. And then near 95%, it was just under 1.8 million.
Thank you.
Which is still within what we've received from ARPA.
That's correct.
8 months, starting maybe by the new year.
That's the hope. It'll depend on how things are, I guess, at the point of bid opening.
Which direction would it start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm guessing they have to start at the top and work their way down. Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about, so yes, the order of installation is they will start at the Boundary Street pump station. So the typical process for whenever you're doing sewer replacement is you start at your lowest point and move up. So they'll start at Boundary Street pump station and then move upstream to Colonial Ave.
That is much better. The best news you said all night.
Okay, good.
This has been an issue for decades. Honestly, I'd be ecstatic to get it resolved. It'll be really big improvement. And it also concerns me very much that we have a 4-inch water line at the hydrants of a 5-story townhouse building or condo over there. That is extremely concerning. That is a public safety concern to everybody here. And the upsizing to allow hydrant flow for sprinkler system when you have a 5-story condominium there already, regardless of the new development. That seems pretty significant considering we didn't get our ladder truck out of the deal back when we were supposed to. Anybody knows about that? Yes.
One more question is, with projects this size in your experience, do they typically have a good way of communicating with the public and especially businesses? What's going to be blocked off and when? So just to give them an idea for planning for their businesses or events and stuff like that.
I mean, that's definitely something we could work with the town on. If that's something where, so the contractor is obviously required to come up with a full project schedule that needs to be reviewed and approved really at the pre-construction meeting, so that they've thought through the sequencing, thought through the traffic control, that the town is on board with how it's being sequenced. So once that is in hand, I would think there would be a way. Again, I'm not quite sure how that would work, but possibly some way of maybe putting that schedule on, like, we're going to be on this street, or we plan to be on this street here during this time, and then we're going to move, like, kind of talking about the sequence of how they're moving along. And then maybe that's something that could be put on like a town website. I'm not sure.
Yeah, code red, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think we need to impact that level of both just water and sewer connections, much less the road interruption as well.
Yeah, we've had internal conversations with Diana. I can defer to her to have some of this conversation, but we've been starting those internal conversations with police and our Parks and Rec and events to coordinate that as it relates to special events and other impacts, but I'll let Diana touch on that.
There is quite a bit of information in the contractor spec document that speaks to scheduling and who needs to report what to who. So one thing that we did change in this recent meeting that we had with Dewberry was that we wanted the contractor, instead of the contractor doing all of this notification to businesses and so forth, we wanted to channel it through the town offices and the PI. I'm not sure yet what it's called here, but I do believe we have a contracted PIO sort of position. So we are going to be coordinating through that position. Hopefully, I'm a big one on communication, so I'm going to push for weeks in advance if we can do that, depending on weather and supply chain and that sort of thing. But I certainly want to see that communication for the businesses and the residents, and we'll be pushing for that.
Tom, did you have something? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update. Come back in around.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Mr. Armstrong?
Thank you, Mayor Schick, council members, for having me here for a few minutes. After that, the first two speakers, my simple update on the final status of some set codes seems pretty insignificant. So I'm just going to read through my notes and let you guys be done with it. So in summary, it's going to be completed by Labor Day. I mean, we still have a little bit of landscaping, some ribbons and bows to put on it, but it will be listed by Labor Day, so lots can be purchased. I'm still going to read my list since I prepared it, Robin. So all the utilities are in. The water system has had 2 sample tests that were passed. And as a matter of fact, that does kind of tie into her report. Hopefully, I'm told that it will increase the water pressure for that part of the town once it's online. And there's one I that needs to be dotted with the Department of Health to turn the valves on to make that portion of the waterworks active on the town system. The sanitary sewer is in. It's already connected and online. The storm drainage is in and it's functioning properly. We do have electrical conduits for Dominion Energy that are buried underneath designated segments underneath the roadway. So once the first permit is filed for the first home that's going to be built on a lot, they will install the lines, the transformers, the necessary equipment. So the infrastructure is there for power, buried. No power poles, no lines in the subdivision. The same thing applies to any broadband connections. And I've talked to Breeze Line, formerly Atlantic Broadband, and they understand that they're going to have to bury all of their wires as well. But as soon as somebody requests service for broadband, they will come out and bury their lines in the utility area. The site is pretty much done right now. Everything's prepped. We have everything compacted. The base roadways already put down. We just have scheduled concrete pours to finish the curb and gutter, the sidewalk, and the asphalt for the roadway, and tie it in and patch everything where we've connected to Lynn Haven and Livingstone. So all of that will be cleaned up and corrected, and it'll start blending back in more with the town. So, you know, all those bumps that you've been running over will go away soon. So the schedule for that is a curb and gutter concrete pour is going to happen this Monday. That's the 22nd. The asphalt work for the road. So the road and the patches in Glen Haven and Livingstone will happen the following Monday on the 29th. The final concrete pour for the sidewalk will happen the day after Labor Day on September the 6th. The following day on September the 7th, they will do the hydro seeding for all of the lots. So all of that is going to turn into grass within 5 to 7 days following. And then we get to start cutting that stuff until they sell. So that's going to be fun. I don't have an ETA on the street signage yet, but the way that project has gone for the last year, that's at least my worries, but I have assurances that it's under control and we will get it done. So, like I said, in contrast to previous speakers, pretty insignificant, but hey, I read it anyway.
Thank you, appreciate it.
If there are any questions, you know how to contact me.
I think Dr. Sullivan has a question.
Well, thank you
How
all very much.
Dan, hold on.
How many lots are available?
There are, so the Sunset Cove subdivision consists of 18 buildable lots. 6 lots are waterfront with riparian rights, and they have riparian surveys, which will be conveyed with those waterfront lots. There are 6 well, actually, they say that most of the additional lots have water views, but really there are 6 adjacent lots that face the bay. You have 3 that face the incoming road for the cul-de-sac that we're installing right now. And you have 3 lots that face Livingstone. So those really, the only water view that you would have on those would be across 2 lots in their backyards. So I would say you have 6 water view lots and 6 waterfront lots. So 18 lots total.
I don't know if you've noticed, but houses are popping up like mushrooms in this town. Who do the builders call if they want to buy a lot?
I didn't notice that. I'm kidding. At this point, pre-sales, like I said, pre-sales are expected to begin by the end of the month, no later than Labor Day. There will be a homeowners association, nothing crazy though.
But they call you, are you handling the
No,
sales?
you do not call me. You will be calling TTR Sotheby's International Realty, not
Okay,
me.
Sotheby's is gonna have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sotheby's will be handling that. There's gonna be an HOA, but nothing crazy. Mainly the HOA exists to maintain the shoreline and just make sure that nobody obstructs anybody else's view. But that they're not gonna tell you what kind of plants you could put in your front yard or anything like that. That's my understanding in a way. Don't quote me on that. It's
Okay,
not
thank
my
you.
scope.
Yes, Ms. Ryan.
Yeah, Mr. Armstrong, approximately what are the size of the lots? Square footage? Are they
They
varied?
have a range because they're odd shaped based on the property design where the cul-de-sac's at. I can tell you the largest lot is approximately 16.5, I would say, square feet. But I don't have those figures in front of me, so I can't. I mean, I think I've set those up previously and I have no problems.
It's been a while since I've seen that. That was a long time ago.
I have no problems making a share link with all of that information available.
Sure.
But they range anywhere from 16,000 plus square feet all the way down to 6,000, some of the smaller lots. And it's just a weird design that goes around the cul-de-sac with
Yeah, they
the,
kind of like went out.
yeah, so you really need to look at the plat and look at the square footage sheet. But I do have a detail sheet that outlines the total actual lot square footage and the potential impervious area square footage, the potential constructible area square footage. That gives you a better idea down to each lot, and I can provide that information if you would like.
Okay, and so these are all custom homes, like individual builders will be building them?
They will all need to be custom homes. I know the owner is currently talking to a couple of builders right now, and that's why they haven't listed the lots yet. Because they're not sure if they're gonna actually make an arrangement with the builders to buy the entire development. But their deadline is by Labor Day. So if they don't reach some kind of an agreement to do spec homes and build them themselves and sell a house along with the lots, then the lots will be listed by Labor Day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. We'll get in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Take care.
Next up, we have citizen input in the sheet.
First up is Mr. Paul Sheehan.
How y'all doing? I feel like I'm gonna be a storm cloud today after all this good news everybody's got. It's awesome the town's selling all these properties and all these new homes are going up. You have a lot of infrastructure concerns. Colonial Avenue is not the only place where you have backed up sewage. You have it in neighborhoods too. People are starting to complain. Everybody's homes are flooding back in some of these neighborhoods. Our yards are turning into mosquito fields because of the flooding. The sun will be shining for a week and our yards are still mud because the drainage isn't right. You have drainage 6 inches over the street, manhole cover sitting 6 inches high over the street. Water can't drain. They're draining into our yards. It's probably not the first time you've heard that, and I'm probably not the first person to say that. I'm sure the town council and the mayor has been aware of this. Your guys' seats, even the mayor, as much as I like her, you guys' seats aren't life appointed. And if you guys don't start listening to residents, you're going to get voted out of your seats very quickly. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. A lot of people are starting to talk. A lot of people are getting ready to get organized. The town's in bad shape infrastructure wise. You walk down a lot of these streets at night, they're all dark. There's no light posts. If there's light bulbs on these posts, they're out. People are concerned. Some of the ideas you have are great ideas. Some of the ideas you have are really bad. We didn't need a beach ambassador program before we had neighborhood watch. We didn't need a dog park before we have infrastructure. These things are nice. They're nice to have, but they're not doing anything for the community that's already here. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I'll start being in a lot more meetings and there's going to start being more people coming with me. I hope you guys understand your seats are not lifetime appointed. If you guys don't start listening to the community, you guys won't be in those seats. Some of you don't look concerned when I say that. Some of you do have a serious look on your face when I say that. You guys gotta understand, people are getting angry. People are unhappy with some of the decisions y'all are making. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
Next is Mr. John Heath.
Good afternoon. My name is John Heath. I live at 52 Virginia Avenue. And
I'm here today representing band, beach, arts, music, and mentoring. As most of you know, we're having our annual fundraising concert on Town Hill on September 3rd. That's the Saturday of Labor Day. We'd like to thank the town for their support of our event and let everybody know we have about 75 volunteers who will be there that day, including several who are on the town council. The day will include a lot of really great music, most of it from the Northern End. Food from, we'll have Monrovia Farm burgers and Colonial Beach Brewing beverages. And we have a really outstanding silent auction with a lot of very, very nice items in it. There'll also be family games, family art and games. We'd like to thank everybody who volunteered for setting everything up for the last 2 or 3 months and for that day. And we hope everybody comes out and supports this concert, because the money we raise at this concert goes right back to the town. So we spend that money supporting the teachers and the students of Colonial Beach. This is a very generous town, but we hope everybody comes out and supports us. To switch gears for a second and become a citizen instead of representing band, I'd like to give kudos out to Public Works for a number of things. I'll give you the latest example. I don't know how many of you saw this morning on Colonial Avenue, there was a rather large groundhog that had been struck by a car and was in the middle of the road. I was out very early this morning and I saw some Public Works guys emptying the trash, and I brought it to their attention, and when I went back by a half an hour later, it was gone. So they did a really good job at that, and they do a good job every time we see them. So we really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Susan Mack.
Twice.
Twice.
Yes, the first presentation is as my role for the Westmoreland County Social Services Advisory Commission. So we had our meeting today, and one of the things that the social services did prior to COVID was they sent somebody out once a month and had kind of an open house. I believe it was at the community center, and people could come apply for benefits, TANF, Medicaid, etc. If that's something, I've checked with them today, and that's something that they would entertain if we're interested in doing that again. So I look forward to hearing from you about that. And that's all I had to say about that. The second one is I'm 1541 Irving Avenue, Susan Mack, citizen. And first I want to say, like John, Public Works, wonderful. Thank you so much for all the work you're putting into finding out what's going on with I&I. There's a lot of work being done, and we're moving this thing forward, and I really appreciate that as a citizen of Colonial Beach. Just as a reminder, I do this kind of this time each year, the Phragmites at the beach at 1500, 1600 block of Irving are getting really high again. So it might be time to address that. That's all I've got.
Next is Sherry Hutchins.
Good evening, Sherry Hutchins, 1105 Lawson Ave. I'm not sure who this is directed towards, if it's towards the builders or towards Public Works, but where builders cut through the road, they are not filling it in, and it is on Lawrence, it's a good 6 inches deep. And when you hit it, especially if you're on a bike or walking, someone's going to get hurt. I already know that someone at the end, oh, I don't know what it is, where Heritage is building the new ones, someone already has wiped out and has hurt himself. And I don't know who's responsible, but it is ridiculous in this town. I do have to say for Sunset Cove, they paved theirs over, thank you very much. But there's others that are extremely dangerous and that should be addressed. I know that other builders in other counties, they've had to pay for damages. Like if you get a flat tire or anything like that, the builder is totally responsible for all damages done. So that's the one thing. I'm not sure if we're still doing the plate reader thingamajiggy for the beach, if that's going to come up. I was at a meeting last week or the week before. My concern on that is I've noticed when I walk, a lot of people back in to the spaces where they park, and not every state requires a front plate. So if someone's just going to ride through in their little car and zoom in, they're not going to hit probably 50% of the cars that were parked there the other day. So that's something to consider, even though I'm totally against that plate reader anyways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Michael Fitzpatrick.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Nice to see you all. I'm speaking mostly on behalf of the chamber tonight. I have a number of things I wanted to inform you about. First off, the Alzheimer's walk, which I've mentioned before, has gone unbelievably well. We have had such fantastic participation from the business community in town. We have almost 40 businesses out of our chamber membership that have done some level of sponsorship from $1,000 down to $100. So it's really great. And we are also tying this in with the Bike Fest. So it'll be part of the Bike Fest calendar event. So I think we're going to have a fantastic result for the Alzheimer's walk this year in October. Also want to thank you very much for the opportunity to partner with the town for the Potomac River Festival grant from the Virginia Tourism Commission. That final report was submitted. It's been accepted and approved, and we'll be receiving all $10,000 for that grant. So thank you. I think it was a nice opportunity to cooperate with the town and the chamber. The next grant coming up that we have been awarded for the chamber is $20,000 for the Bike Fest. And I think we learned a lot from our advertising efforts with Potomac River Festival and how we can really improve that even better. But we had great results for Potomac River Festival where we met all of the goals that we had set. And I think we'll do the same thing for Bike Fest and hopefully exceed them as well. I also wanted to mention and thank you, Mayor, for bringing it up about the parking, because this relates to Bike Fest. Because on behalf of the chamber, we really want to encourage the council to vote in favor of the ordinance change so that the parking, paid parking ends at the end of September. So Bike Fest is not impacted by paid parking. So encourage you all to vote affirmatively for the ordinance change ending the parking in September. I just wanted to mention that one of the goals for the Economic Development Committee was the apprenticeship program. And I was a little concerned when we lost our high school principal, but luckily with our new principal and with the support of our superintendent and Dr. Otto, we're moving forward with this career expo and kicking things off in October. We're just finalizing the date. So there'll be more information coming from that. And we'll be working very closely with a lot of the businesses in town here to make that a really successful first annual career expo to partner students with potential businesses with classes that are available through RCC through certification. So more to come on that as well. I also attended last evening the Northern Neck 250, which is the beginning of the planning process for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And there's a whole effort for putting together a program for the Northern Neck. I believe that there's going to be a great opportunity for Colonial Beach to participate in that and to be able to hopefully realize some great economic benefit from that going on. So I know it's early days, but I think it's important that we start thinking about how we're going to plan for and participate in the 250th Northern Neck celebration. Let's see, and then final, two other things. One other one is I was asked to be on the board of directors. It's a newly appointed board of directors for the Fredericksburg Northern Neck Alliance. It's headed by Curry Roberts. And they're starting a program for entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I think it's a great way for me to be involved in expanding our connections and networking from Fredericksburg throughout the Northern Neck and bring some of those entrepreneurial ecosystem development opportunities together. So we'll be partnering with folks who are involved with venture capital and angel investments. So we'll be able to tie that in with some of our efforts with recruiting new businesses to Colonial Beach. So I'm excited to be part of that. And we're just getting it off the ground and getting the bylaws written and all of that. And then finally, I just wanted to, since I'm not gonna hang around for the next thing, unfortunately, but I hope that you'll vote affirmatively for all of the changes to the ordinance for the upcoming public session. I think it's long overdue and I completely support those efforts. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Mike, the Career Expo, is there a job expo component for people that are looking to hire right now, or is it more a career line?
I think it could be. What we're trying to do is to find students that are helping them to identify, do I want to go into the military? Do I want to go to college? Or do I want to go straight into a job? Identifying them in grades 8 through 12. And then giving them exposure to all the different opportunities here in town for the trades like plumbing, heating, and HVAC, the nursing home for CNA programs, for hospitality industry, for law enforcement, hopefully. So we're going to try to get, now that we've kind of got the green light for moving forward with this, is to bring that Career Expo together where we'll have hopefully 20, 30 different businesses in town, and we will be open to the parents of the students too. So I think it could be an opportunity to actually maybe even match some parent opportunities up for employment as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Last, we had an email from Mr. Green. He says, "Good evening, Mayor and Council. Question 1, would it be possible to get monthly updates from the town attorney on what litigation is pending that the town is involved with? If the citizens had information such as case numbers, the court of disposition, and dates of action, the citizens could follow the town's litigation if they wished." Question 2, I've asked the mayor, town manager, and the past and present police chiefs if a police summary call log could be published on a regular, such as a bi-monthly basis. Could this be done as our surrounding communities do? This would help show how much the police department does for the town and increase resident situational awareness. Thank you for taking my questions. Respectfully, Jim Green.
Thank you. And I forwarded Jim questions to the town manager and the police chief so that they can circle back with me on both of those items. All right, moving right along. Is anybody else for public comment? I know, I see you back there. I was waiting for you to be on the list.
My last one, I'm sorry, I got that.
Come on up.
I thought you like 7, you know. I
See,
looked
we have you sign up here.
on my phone, it said 6. I jumped off the track and I got a proposal for good evening, Mayor and
Good
Council.
evening.
You know, still from Colonial Beach. I'm Larry Henson from Montrose, District 3. Eleanor Park, that is a vacant area. Is that something possible to be for the bikers could tent up and stay? Because last year, I'm not gonna call what who charged whatever on the boardwalk, but they charge prices high, like $800 for 3 days, which is ridiculous. And I talked about that last year when you came down to the board meeting in Montrose, board supervisor meeting. And so if you kick it with my plan A, which is fine, I understand. B, if you could talk to them and find out if they could lower the prices at a reasonable rate. They're still gouging everybody on a bike weekend. or anytime, not just Pike Weekend. I'm sure the price is higher in the summer. And plus, with a big event like that, they do up the price. So we could check on, that's when President Winchester came down and say 3 days. And said, yeah, $800 I said, what? So anyway, I know what, people proposal on Elmore Park.
$800 for parking?
What's that?
No, it's what the chamber charges for their spaces. It depends on
No, it's
how
the
they-
hotels.
Oh, the hotels.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sorry, I was just trying to get straight what that was. Okay.
Hotels are their rates. I know you're not gonna do the Elmore Park. I'm sure it's too much responsibility and
You gonna go out there and play some?
I wish I could. Which is odd, yeah, I thought about it. I said, well, I'll put it across you guys and see what you say, so it'll be fine. So definitely, Plan B will work. Hotels could get the rates down to a good number. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it, thanks.
Thanks for traveling from Montrose. The more Colonial Beachers need to go the other direction. Yeah.
We're the county seat.
They're all glad to be reminded. All right, moving forward, we'll go with our old business, ordinance 729, amendment of the Town of Colonial Beach Town Code, Chapter 2, Chapter 8, Chapter 11. Is there an opportunity for public input on this?
There is, Madam Mayor. This was advertised. It's not listed as public hearing, but it is, and it was advertised for public hearing. And we talked about last month, our last meeting, that that's not technically a statutory requirement, but a best practice or a recommendation, however you want to phrase that from legal counsel. So it is properly noticed for public hearing.
Is anybody signed up?
Mr. Fitzpatrick was, but
I think he made it clear that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll open public hearing, public input on this particular item, or anybody wants to speak on this? Okay. Then I'll close public input on that. 7:47. Or, so that says 7:48, this is 7:46, I don't know. There you go. All right, so I know this was talked about the work session. Obviously, I was sick for the work session, but is there further discussion by council before a motion is taken, or?
Do you want, perhaps Vivian could just read us in so that everybody is up to speed on the gist.
Sure, this is the kickoff really of the ordinance updates. You have, and these are the town ordinance. I explained last time, and I do, and Heather does have the presentation teed up, but it would be the same as last time, where I explained that there are 23 chapters in your code of ordinances, which is the town code. And then on the zoning ordinance side, there are 29 current chapters, and I did recently draft, and it's very much a rough draft of an Article 30. So you have 30 articles on that side of the house, but on this, which is your code of ordinances, there are 23. And this is, again, the kickoff of Mr. Moncure's effort to, and very good effort to clean up some of these items. And as we started with chapters 2, 8, and 11, we reviewed pretty carefully last time what the recommendations were. I will tell you that what you have in front of you tonight is the same as last time, except for section 2-23 that was discussed last time, and that is the section for someone to take over, basically, if the town manager is not around. And that has been reworded, and the way that would work is to mirror what she already does, which is she has a list of succession of 2 or 3 people that she would identify to step in, and she activates, if you will, that list when she's going to be out for a couple of days or something along those lines. However, if in the horrible circumstance that she were not able to activate that list, this just says that the mayor could activate the list, but it would be the list that is a standing list, which could be changed, from time to time. And that is the section 2-23. Otherwise, this is.
I've got a question about that section. So Does this address long-term? Like, say, I know the towns had situations where they've been many months without a town manager. Does this give the council the ability to appoint somebody temporarily in the town manager's absence? If we're
Yes.
talking months down.
Yes, because that would not be under this section. This section anticipates that you do in fact have a town manager. In your example, you don't even have a town manager. So council is at all times at liberty to appoint a town manager, be it interim, permanent, however that may work.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions? Tom, are you happy?
What's wrong?
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, do I,
He should make the motion.
Mr. Mocker, would you like to make the motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there further discussion? No, seeing none. Would you like me to do a roll call vote? Or are we all in favor of adopting the changes as proposed? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh. Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, note this is step one in a long process.
You give us a list of like 30 things to do with these town ordinances. This is 3 of those. So yes.
Let me pose a question at this point, which I think is appropriate. I'd identify or ask whether the Revitalization Commission and the Memorials Advisory Commission were in existence. And whether they're obsolete or not, but so if they're obsolete, they probably need to come out. Number one. Number two, I would suggest, and I'll look at council on this, that in terms of putting in ordinance commissions, obviously, if they are of a permanent nature required by statute, they should be in ordinance. But if they're not statutorily mandated or permanent, then probably a resolution would be the best way to handle those.
I would concur with you on that, although I do think the Memorial Commission is in this limbo. It has members, but it doesn't meet.
Yeah, the members were appointed in 2019 and the very beginning of 2020, and then COVID happened and Kathy passed away and it just went.
Yeah, and I do think that was intended to be a permanent commission. But we will bring up that at the next work session, maybe, start to tackle.
Yeah, for purpose of discussion, the idea is that ordinance should reflect statutorily mandated commissions are permanent. Anything else we handle by resolution.
Yeah. Love it when the lawyers get together. I say that lovingly and endearingly. Okay. Referrals to the planning commission, we're going on, moving on. Do you want to read us into this, Ms. Adams Jacobs?
That's
sorry.
actually mine.
I
And
didn't have anybody on here for me.
yeah, this is just the new item that I requested to be added to the town council agenda to make official referrals of matters to the planning commission. I do have the flag issue that's on the list, but they have a lot on their plate right now, so I'm trying to be deliberate about referring, because it does, for ordinance amendments, it does start a clock ticking. Now, I don't know that there are any consequences to not meeting those deadlines, but I always try to be respectful of those. So that will be coming up in the future, but Mr. Allison, and he probably want to speak to this. So I'm talking about just this section of the agenda, and this just sends a matter officially to Planning Commission for consideration. But I know Mr. Allison had.
So previously, when we were discussing the POR, and it was brought to our attention that the planning commission wished to develop a master plan, not only for the PUD-R, but potentially townwide, but specifically starting with the PUD-R ordinance type stuff. So we posed a question of them providing a justification and a scope for what a master plan would be, to provide it to council, so we can basically say whether or not we intend to do that or not. rather than waste their time or our time kind of thing to, with their recommendation to develop one, I thought it'd be smart for a justification and scope of what that would entail to ensure that we're getting the best product out of that. So that's the reason.
So are you proposing that we ask the planning commission for a justification and scope
Correct.
at this point? So send that to them as a request.
Correct.
I would second that.
Okay. So is that a motion on the table then to propose to refer that to the planning commission, the justification and scope?
Correct.
Okay, seconded
Second.
by Dr. Sullivan. And so we will have discussion on that. Any discussion with you on that? My only thing is there's can be a lot, I mean, I think that this step is an important step and I will be interested to see where the planning commission comes back with what the justification and scope is. I have seen a lot of master plans developed. I'm an architecture student. They are extremely costly. They are almost never used. So I just say that with the fact that I have some skepticism to spending an enormous amount of money on something that is impossible or improbable to actually be a helpful document in some fashions. But I'd like to see what their justification is.
I'd like to see it too, because in my research, they reference James City County. Well, James City County is 200 and some acres. We've got how many acres? Square miles, 200 and some square miles, and we have 3 square miles. Having a master plan for a very small area seems to be, from my perspective, seems to be something that a developer would present to us, not that we would pre-plan.
Well, I also think that it gives the impression as if we do not have a plan. And that is not really accurate, because we do have a future land use map. We do have a comprehensive plan, and we do have the downtown revitalization plan, which has several maps and intentions and, outlines a lot of future needs. So anyway, I'm go along with this and all of that, and I'll be, interested to see what happens out of that. Just there's a little reservation for spending money on something that, this may not be as thing as, but I will always hope that we make great plans and follow through.
Since the planning commission did suggest it, I just thought that'd be important for us to get a justification of and a scope of what that is, rather than us just saying, yes, go off and do great things. Understand what that implementation is.
Yeah.
Understood, but yes.
No, I think it's a good move. Yeah.
Oh, I would just like to suggest maybe they bring us maybe some options versus just saying do a master plan or not, but maybe perhaps, I heard somebody say in one of those meetings that they don't have to be elaborate big plans, but maybe something that shows, okay, we have enough room for another 100 students in our schools. We have, 10% capacity left in our water. What could we actually afford as far as developments, or what could we use that property for without major infrastructure addition? Just something to show us what we could do with that land. Feasibly.
Yeah, I think that where the scope of that will fall into explaining these pieces.
Yeah, I think they should definitely consider options. We should pass that along. Is there a consensus then to pass this scope and justification? Yes. Yes. All right. Consensus done. Referral to Planning Commission. Public hearing. Intent to sell town-owned real property. You wanna read this one also?
Sure. So Miss Sandra Kennedy has approached the town and had approached the town prior to my arrival regarding a town-owned strip of real property that adjoins her house and property on which her house is located. Well, and I'll just start with, go ahead and into the PowerPoint. So, start with the first page one. Page one. All right, so go to the next page. All right, so Ms. Kennedy, that I referenced, owns the property at 353 7th Street. And there is a strip of land, it's approximately 15 feet wide. We measured it out just less than that, but for all intents and purposes, 15 feet wide that joins her property. And her carport encroaches over onto that just a bit. And that was an inadvertent occurrence that happened several years ago. But nonetheless, the town owns that property. There are many, many, many of these strips of real property. They are often in the town that the town owns. They are frequently referred to as easements, but they are not. They are actually owned by the town. So this is real estate that the town actually owns. This was discussed previously, and town council instructed that a public hearing be held on this to consider the request, given the fact that a citizen has made this request. So hence tonight's public hearing. So as I indicated, Ms. Kennedy owns the property at 353 7th Street and has the carport on that property, which encroaches slightly. In addition to that, on the real estate that the town owns next to her house, there are some trees that have proven to be problematic, as many trees in the town, limbs dropping and that sort of thing. So that's another issue. So that council is aware on this particular strip of real property, unlike many in the town, there is located a sanitary sewer gravity main. And I did not, at the time I created this, I did not know that there is a water line as well. There you go. And that this just shows, so if you see 353 sort of in the center, there you go. It's sort of in the center of that, you can see 353, which would be the house. This is not, our GIS is off just a little bit. It does not go through her house, but that green line shows that it confirms we do have a sewer main, a gravity sewer main there on that. So go to the next.
Is it just like a dead end line? Oh, there's properties that go all the way up through there. Is that right? Okay, because I visited her and I don't remember seeing all the properties. Are some of them vacant lots?
So some of those lots, so they were combined. If you look at actually her description, it's the eastern half of certain lots, and another residence is the western, the 358, I think it is. I can't see from this far. But the house to the left of hers is the western half of those lots, so that there have been some combinations and that sort of thing. But it does, according to our records, it goes just there, and there's a manhole. Okay, next slide. So the issue is whether to transfer the property outright and retain an easement. We would definitely need to retain an easement for maintenance and repair and operation of those lines, to not do anything. And there's no requirement that you do anything at all. You could transfer a portion, but whatever you do, I would suggest if you made any transfer of any type, because relative to the property, the carport, all of those things, I mean, unless or until it's dug up, you'd never know exactly where it is. So I would suggest retaining the easement for maintenance and repair of those lines and replacement, all of the above. So the question is what to do, if anything at all. There's no requirement that you do anything. Okay, next slide. Which are your alternatives are outlined here. Do nothing, effect a boundary line adjustment. That is one method of conveying, if you will. Or you could sell it outright. And Ms. Kennedy did have an appraisal of this property done, and the appraised amount came out. The appraisal that we have is $2,700 for this strip. And I would guess, and in fact, I'm sure that appraisal anticipates conveyance of the whole without retaining easements. So that could impact value, but this is what we have. Okay. And the fiscal impact, just so council is aware, this really, because the next slide will be recommendation, and this issue is
prevalent throughout the town. And so anytime that if you were to consider to go down the path of conveying these properties or not, but if you did that, the fiscal impact, I just tried to brainstorm as to all of the impacts that could exist in a transaction on this particular, in this particular instance, and in all of them. So if you were to request a sales price, you would get that. You would reduce the man hours associated with routine maintenance of mowing, reduce the man hours of contract costs or our staff for tree maintenance, because that is, again, an issue I know on this lot and on many, that because we get those phone calls too in community development. And then there's always the lingering potential risk of with respect to any property that you own, that risk that if someone were to be injured, for example, or property were to be damaged by your trees or something along those lines. So that's just probably not quantifiable unless you really contact actuaries and those folks who do that, but nonetheless, it's out there. Okay, next slide. And so the recommendation is just regardless of the decision or the determination made on this particular parcel, because from a legal perspective or from community development, as long as Public Works has access to maintain, repair, and replace and do what needs to be done with those lines, it doesn't matter quite as much whether the town owns the property or just has access to the property. And I would ask Ms. Fire to correct me, but we did walk through this and talk about this. But the recommendation would be that whatever you decide now, that this is a bigger issue than just this one transaction, and because there are lots of these in the town.
Is there anybody signed up for the public hearing?
Excuse me, Mayor, I didn't know to sign up. I'm Mrs. Kennedy.
Oh, no, please come up.
Okay.
I thought you were Miss Kennedy.
You thought?
No, I met you a while back, so anyway.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't remember, but okay, nice to see you. Everything that she's saying is right. What it is, we have a 6-foot encroachment in this 15-foot easement or alleyway, whatever that we're calling it. We put that in, but not knowing that we were encroached. I did not know that until after I was informed about 2 years ago. And so that I had been using the stake that was in the right rear of the property when I applied, put in my applications, and I got permits to do these things. But since I did find out, I have been trying to get here. It's taken me almost 2 years to get here because I have offered to purchase the property, give the town right of way if they have to get in. In fact, I didn't even know that there was that line in there until yesterday when the attorney sent me an email stating that that line was even in there. I didn't know that because no one told me that. And there has been people that have come out from public utilities time and time again, but that was never said to me until then. The other big issue there is we have 2 trees there that sit between my property and my neighbor's property. And these trees are, one of them is dead. I mean, I've had an arborist come out and I don't know if you have copies of where I got the appraisals for these estimates from tree companies. But these limbs, these are large limbs, and they come down, and I've had them land on the back deck of my house, the front deck of my house. I've called Public Works and say, hey, I can't get out of my house until somebody comes down here and removes these. But we don't have to have a windstorm anymore to have these limbs come down. In fact, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I came back from Florida, and when I did, the back right side of the carport is damaged, and it's from these large limbs. And now it takes, when I call them to come out to take care of it, it takes a saw. They literally have to saw these in 2 to haul these away. So I wanted to purchase this easement, give the town the right of way. I would take care of the tree maintenance, removed, maintenance, trim. I've been doing the mowing anyway. No one's ever mowed out there in 18 years. And it would be a benefit to the town because I would be paying for it. I'd be paying to have the trees, maintained, taken away, new ones planted. Plus the town would get revenue for me paying more, in real estate. But something needs to be done, whether you allow me to purchase it or not. Those two trees are a big hazard for my house and my neighbor's house.
Possibly also for the water and sewer line that run underneath of.
Yes, see, I like I said, I didn't even know. That's the whole point. I did not know until yesterday.
All right, well, we will have opened the public hearing officially, I think about 30
Okay.
minutes ago.
Okay.
We'll write you down as coming and commenting. Was this posted physically at the address?
The public hearing. No.
That's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement,
No.
okay. Is your
But the
neighbor
neighbors-
aware?
Oh, yeah, my neighbor even wrote.
No, because it's not a zone.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah, that-
understand a zoning requirement versus, okay.
Yeah, my
So-
neighbor even wrote, because I've been trying to get here.
Right,
My neighbor's even given me updated letters that were addressed here to the council, stating that they didn't want anything, they didn't want any part of the 15-foot easement.
okay,
No,
they're good.
the letters should be, here in the file. Yeah.
It's always important to know. Okay. All right, so we're closing the public hearing now. If there's nobody else here to speak on this matter. I see none.
Okay,
Okay,
I didn't know. Thank you.
all right, we're checking that off. Do we want to take action on this? Do we want to have a motion? Or do we want to defer action? That's up to you all.
Oh,
Yes,
if it's a 14 by 200-foot strip, I can't imagine any utilization that this town is going to make for that piece of property. I don't know, Bobby, maybe you could put a bow and arrow shooting range on it, but I don't know that it would accommodate much of anything else. So I would formally move that we sell the property while retaining an easement.
all right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Wait,
If I may clarify, the measurements, I believe that those measurements were to go all the way through, so I would suggest that we confirm that, and this would be perfected in the description in a deed, but that it go to the rear of Miss Kennedy's property. I think that 200 feet goes all the way out to the other street, which also includes the portion beside her adjoining property in the back. So it might be less than 200 feet, Mr. Moncur, for purposes of your motion, but just to the back corner, I would think would be the intent.
But it still wouldn't accommodate our bow and arrow shooting range.
Yes, definitely.
Which I do not think Miss Kennedy would appreciate, since she is here today. Thank you. Yes.
I'm looking at the bigger view on Google Maps and it looks like, if you correct me if I'm wrong, that the property backs up to that small portion of 8th Street that's actually paved. And so the property behind her house is commercial business. I forget the name of it, but they do some auto works or something
No,
there.
that's not right behind me.
That's not,
No.
okay.
Right behind, between my house and my neighbor's house sits one house. Well, no, I take it back. They just built a new house across from that one, but there's one house that's there, which, and then they only own a section of that. Butch Faust and his family own that house there.
So your property doesn't go all the way back to 8th Street?
No.
Okay,
No,
so there's a
mine-
house that's now been built on 8th Street on your side of the road.
That's on the other side of where the house behind me exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
That's the one you're talking about that's next to, it used to be
Okay.
Mr. Smith's property.
Right.
Right.
So what my only concern is I'm all throughout the classic shores, when the lots were laid out, all of these alleys were put in. And the alleys were put in, so if you look at the original layout of those lots, they were probably 20 foot, looks like she's on 4 half lots. They were probably, they were 25 feet wide. and they went straight back, and this was probably one of those original alleys that allowed rear access to these really narrow lots, because I live on one up on the other end. But it looks like the way this property has been redivided, that the lots actually have been, so she's got 4 half lots. Her neighbor to the left on this slide has 4 half lots, and the houses actually face 7th Street. They don't face McKinney Boulevard. So I don't see an issue in my mind.
No, me neither.
But I can see where if this was a standard and somebody came in and wanted to buy half of the alley behind that runs to my house, it could be a problem. So I just see extenuating circumstances here that might not exist everywhere where these alleys are laid out. And the alleys are not maintained by the town. We maintain the alleys.
I know, because I maintain one also. Cut the grass for 10 years. Yep. Okay, I think this is a case by case basis. And right now, what's on the floor is particularly for Kennedy's case, and that is a motion for sale with retainment of the easement for the water and sewer to the extent of Miss Kennedy's property. Okay.
I'm sorry,
There
I
was a
meant
second.
I meant to do the second before I started
Okay,
discussion.
I
So
think there was a
seconded.
second, it was a,
Okay.
all right, is there any further discussion then? Seeing none, I'm gonna take a roll call vote on this. I'll start on this side, Mr. Mayor.
Aye.
Mr. Montero.
Aye.
Ms. Robertson.
Aye.
Dr. Sutton.
Aye.
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Allison.
Aye.
Vote aye. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna read this to close meeting, but we're gonna take a 15-minute break between, so we can use the restroom. I move that the town council, town of Colonial Beach, convene and close meeting, or 10 minutes, I don't know. It always seems like 15. Convene and close meeting for the following purpose and discuss the following subjects, all of which are exempt by Virginia law from public meeting requirements as indicated, namely pursuant to Virginia Code 2.237-11A7, consultation with legal counsel pertaining to pending litigation where such consultation open meeting would adversely affect the litigation posture of the public body in the pending court case with Westmoreland County Circuit Court, and also for the second one that was added, 13B, pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, discussion of assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public employees regarding staff and planning and community development and possibly other departments. So a motion for that. A second? All right, 10-minute recess.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, aye, everybody. Okay. I have these arrested.
Vicki Robertson. To the front. Vicki Robertson, to the front. Your order is ready.
You have some fun with this thing sometimes.
Vicki Robertson, to the front. Your pickup order is ready.
Your prescription is ready.
Your prescription is ready. See, that's you. Somebody this time. All right, here we go. Is there?
I'm probably as tall as you are while I'm standing up.
Is there a motion to reconvene an open meeting?
Who's on first?
So moved.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Mary, still certified?
We're about to do that now. Is there a motion to certify that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by council?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
and this is where we each individually certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
So sort of.
so certified.
I so certify.
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. Second,
Third.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion or meeting adjourned, 9:18.
Yeah.